Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Happy Thursday. I hope your week is coming to a nice, easy close. Tomorrow's Friday, but we're not done yet. We got some very interesting birthright citizenship ban business to attend to because Trump's latest executive order is now under attack. A federal judge just came back down and issued an injunction to stop it from going into order. But we're going to unpack it because there's a little sneaky thing that they're doing here where they're trying to conflate lawful permanent residence and having a kid with somebody who is here illegally and in an undocumented illegal fashion. So we're going to go through all of that today. We've got a bunch of court opinions that will parse through stuff that is just coming out of the oven fresh. And so we're excited to get into all of it with you here very shortly. But we also had some breaking news from a new batch of executive orders that was just signed mere minutes ago. And this is giant news. President Trump now signing an executive order releasing the JFK files and handing the pen that he used to sign the order with over to the person who deserves it most. Here is what it looked like at the White House today.
We have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh?
Yes.
A lot of people are waiting for this for years.
Yes, Mr. President.
For decades. And everything will be revealed.
Everything.
Okay? Give that to RFK Jr.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Beautiful. History right there, folks.
Okay. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
President,
Sir, we have
Wow. All right. So our own government has been covering this up from us for decades. And all the fingers point back to actors in the government. Some people might say J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI. But now we will be getting more of the truth revealed. And I hope it is everything that comes out. Now, we also saw the president sign this pardon for 23 pro-life protesters who Biden prosecuted and tried to wreck their lives. They're now being freed as well. Big day.
a set of pardons for peaceful pro-life protesters who were prosecuted by the Biden administration for exercising their First Amendment rights.
Do you know how many?
I believe it's 23, sir.
23 people were prosecuted. They should not have been prosecuted.
Nope.
Many of them are elderly people. They should not have been prosecuted. This is a great honor to sign this.
Fix this right away. Beautiful sound. The sound of freedom and victory. And so very good stuff happening there. And we wanted to share that at the start. But coming up, we've got a bunch of great stuff. So we're going to go through some birthright citizenship business because a bunch of states are now suing the president. And we've got an order that just came down. So let me show you just a preview of that lawsuit. Look at all these states, blue states. Gross. All suing. Michigan, Arizona's on one of these, California, Colorado, New Mexico, New York, and others suing to stop birthright citizenship. But we've got our take on exactly why everything Trump is doing is constitutional. And I actually pulled up the old Wong Kim Ark case that was published back in 1890s. And we'll talk about it. Decided March 28th, 1898, probably published shortly thereafter, but the original report, we'll read through the case that they're hanging their head on. We've also got updates at the border. 10,000 troops now been ordered to make their way down there, and they're coming packing. And so we're excited to see what they can do. We'll look through the memo that came out from the DOJ, also warning sanctuary cities, you better get on board with federal law enforcement or you're going to be in trouble. And it looks like this one came out from Emil Bove. And so we'll read through that and see what's there. The Mexican president getting a little bit nervous out there. Got a report on that. And we'll see how the Gulf of America is shaping up as it's now being included in Americans and America documents. So lots of good stuff to get to today. Of course, before we jump into any of this, you know what we got to do. Get prepared and be healthy, because we know there's a lot of nasty stuff that is flying around out there these days. We've got questions about our so-called leaders and whether or not they have our best interests in mind. Of course, we're talking about the wellness company. We've got Gavin Newsom, bird flu. We've got stuff flying all over the place. He's declaring a national emergency. We've got other critics like Hulsher, people warning that pandemics might be used and be weaponized against us. And so the question is, what can we do about it? We know last summer, Dr. Peter McCullough was warning about this stuff, and he's urging the early prevention just in case we want to get our supplies. That's why we've got a contagion emergency kit from the wellness company. Of course, Peter McCullough involved in this, saying that inside there's a bunch of medications that might be useful to you in case you need it. Things like ivermectin, Tamiflu, nebulizers, and more. And now every household can have access to these high-quality medications without having to worry about tracking them down. And you can get yours very easy. You just fill out a digital intake form. Your kit's going to arrive in your mailbox in 1 to 2 weeks. You don't have to wait until it's too late. Just get your kit today. Go to twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert when you check out. You'll save $32 and you'll get free shipping. This is only for U.S. residents, but you can get prepared with our friends at the Wellness Company. And check out the links down in the description below. Promo code Robert will help you save. All right. And so now, my friends, it is time to get into the business on the day, because we've got some lawsuits that are flying out and about. And here is the first one. A new order has come down from a federal court granting a temporary restraining order against President Trump. We're going to go through this and see what's inside. But you can see this came out from the Western District of Washington in Seattle. So we know it's going to be an adverse ruling just based on the facts of the jurisdiction. But what we're talking about is birthright citizenship, and whether the 14th Amendment says that anybody who comes into American territory and just drops a baby, that baby can be a citizen. That is not what the 14th Amendment says. There's a very key phrase in there that says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And where is this all emanating from? Well, you can see this was the original complaint filed 1/21/2025, right after President Trump was sworn in. It's an 85-pager. We'll just hit the highlights so we can see what their argument is. But you can see it was a bunch of different states here in this filing, and I'll show you a couple others. But we have here Arizona. That's my state. Sorry about that, America. Illinois and Oregon all jumping in this one, and other states are also piling in. You see here was another lawsuit filed in Massachusetts. This one was a 50-pager, also dropped the day after Trump's inauguration, right after that executive order came in. A bunch of other states on here. Massachusetts, Colorado, D.C., Maine, Hawaii, Maryland, Michigan, and Dana Nessel, totally corrupt. Nevada, New Mexico, and more. Okay, all suing Trump and everybody else in his administration, Marco and more. So that's theirs. There's also the ACLUs, which dropped theirs. And I think this was theirs. Yeah, they filed in New Hampshire. Okay, lawsuits all over the place. And what's interesting about this is they're all predicating it largely on this case. And so let's go through briefly what this case originally meant, because you'll hear this name a lot. Wong Kim Ark, generally considered the preeminent case in this line of legal analysis, talking about the creation of birthright citizenship, aka jus soli. You'll say Jussoli. And that's different than jus sanguinis, which is by blood, by lineage. So one is you're born in a territory, you're a citizen, that's it. The other is saying, well, you got to have some lineage with another citizen from that nation state. And we'll come back on that. But this is the case, and this is how it was reported back in the 1890s. I pulled this over from the Library of Congress so we can see exactly what it looked like. And this was an appeal from the Northern District of California, and it was a very interesting case. Back in 1897, this was argued in front of the Supreme Court, and it was a 6-2 decision, so the majority came out and found accordingly. They said that a child that was born in the United States of parents of Chinese descent, because that was the big issue back then, back in San Francisco, if you had a child born and their parents were Chinese, who at the time of that child's birth, those Chinese parents were subjects of the emperor. Okay, in other words, they were Chinese citizens, but have permanent domicile and residence in the United States and are there carrying on business and not employed as a diplomat or any other official capacity. In other words, they didn't work for China. The question is, do they become a citizen? They said yes, they do become, at the time of his birth, a citizen of the United States. And that's by virtue of the 14th Amendment, right? All persons born or naturalized are, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, and this is just a syllabus, so this is just a summation of what the rest of the case will hold. It's 84 pages, and we'll hit some of the highlights therein just so we can understand how all this works. But what they're telling us is that this person had permanent domicile and residence, which means that those parents were here legally. They were not in violation of U.S. law here illegally. And so because they had subjected themselves to the jurisdiction of the United States and were compliant with the law, the 14th Amendment applies to them, and their child was declared to be a citizen. Now, when we go through this, right, because they're going to layer this into their arguments, you're going to hear Wong Kim Ark repeatedly. And we actually have a picture of this individual. You can see we did create some slides here. And this was Wong Kim Ark. This was a photograph from a 1904 immigration document. And the case, as we'll see, articulates that he was, or his parents rather, were in fact legally in the country. Let's take a look. So what happened was, this is a writ of habeas corpus. So he was being detained, and he left the country in the United States, went back to China, and then came back into the country. So then at customs, when he was coming back in 1895, right? So this guy from the United States born here goes back to China, comes back. He gets stopped at the port of entry. San Francisco says, "Hey, the hell are you doing here? You're not a citizen. Get out of here." He says, "What? I am a citizen. I am a citizen. I'm 21 years of age. I was born in San Francisco. My parents are Chinese and they're subjects of the Emperor of China." And he went back over to China and came back on a steamship. He applied for customs to come into the country. They said, "No, you're not a citizen." So then there was a hearing. The district attorney of the United States came back in and said, "Whoa, this person is not entitled to land here. He's not a citizen. That's ridiculous." They said, although he was born in San Francisco, not under the laws of California, is he a citizen? Because he is subject to the Emperor of China. He's got allegiances to them. They said, well, because the said Wong Kim Ark has been at all times by reason of his race a Chinese person, he's just been a laborer here, and so he's not entitled to land in the United States. And there were also a bunch of Chinese exclusion acts to say, no, they can't come in and work here and so on and so forth. So the case makes its way up, and it was submitted to a decision of the court. They said, well, here's the deal. Wong Kim Ark was born in 1873, and his mother and father came from China. And they also note this out. Now, this is a key part of this, because they're going to come in here and say that this applies to illegal aliens. His parents, Wong Kim Ark's parents, were not illegal aliens. Here's from this opinion back from the 1890s, that at the time of his said birth, Wong's parents, his mother and father were domiciled residents of the United States and had established and enjoyed a permanent domicile and residence therein at said city and county of San Francisco. Okay. They went in there to the government and they subjected themselves to the jurisdiction of the United States. They were complying with immigration. And they lived in the United States for quite a while. And then they had a kid. And that kid was a citizen, according to the court. Now, the dissent in this case argued that that's pretty ridiculous, and they should have this other concept of jus sanguinis, like the rest of the world has, that says you've got to actually have lineage with a parent who is a citizen of the location in which you're trying to gain citizenship. So this is a slide that you can just pull up on Wikipedia or anywhere, and it will show you the countries that do citizenship by territory and location, called jus soli, and they're all here in blue, unrestricted. Now, this is a feature and a phenomenon of the Americas, and I think many theories say it's because of expansionism and because it was the New World and people needed people to migrate freely, and we didn't want to have a problem of people having statelessness, and so they needed to have more people, more citizens, essentially, coming into the country in some way, shape, or form. But the rest of the world doesn't do this. Some of them may say that, yes, if you're born in their territory, you can be a citizen, but you got to have at least one parent that has some lineage or some connection to the country, so that people who are just passing by don't just drop kids off and get all the benefits of citizenship. So that, even if you're going to, now you might even disagree with that and say, well, that 14th Amendment holding is way too broad from Wong Kim Ark, and actually the interpretation that says that the permanent residents and their kids have lawful citizenship. But what they're going to do in all of these lawsuits is pervert this and expand this case to include illegal people who are not subjecting themselves to the jurisdiction thereof, not subjecting themselves to United States law. In fact, they're openly, flagrantly violating the law, saying we're coming in illegally. So that is the background for what has ultimately been used to predicate their lawsuits on. But let's take a look at what Trump's executive order actually does, and then we'll read through the complaint and the response, the order, the injunction from the courts. So here's what Trump said when he took office. He said, look, I'm the president now. Guess what? The privilege of United States citizenship is a priceless and profound gift. And the 14th Amendment states, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, critical phrase, meaning you're not in the country illegally because you've complied with the law, you're in our jurisdiction. The left is trying to pervert this to just say, well, jurisdiction means geographic. So if you're just across this line, you can just drop a baby off and you're good. No, you've openly violated the sovereignty of the country. You are impugning our jurisdiction by entering and remaining in the country illegally. So it says, if you are subject to the jurisdiction thereof and you're born, then you're a citizen of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. Now, this provision repudiated the Dred Scott case, which misinterpreted the Constitution as permanently excluding people of African descent from being citizens solely based on their race. So it reversed that. And again, these freed people, okay, the slaves and the descendants, were subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And even the Constitution talked about them as 3/5 representation and other things. They were brought here against their will, enslaved, and subject to the United States, right? They were operating under the jurisdiction of the country involuntarily. But what they did is they misinterpreted that now, and they say anybody who's in violation of the law also counts. Trump says, but the 14th Amendment has never been interpreted to extend citizenship universally to everyone born within the United States. The 14th Amendment has always excluded from birthright citizenship persons who were born in the United States but not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And so, consistent with this understanding, the Congress has further specified through legislation that a person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a national and a citizen of the United States at birth, generally mirroring the 14th Amendment's text. So, among the categories of individuals born in the U.S. and not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, the privilege of the United States citizenship does not automatically extend to them in a couple situations. One, when that person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the person was not a lawful father, was not a lawful U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. That is totally in alignment with what we just read in Wong Kim Ark. His parents were lawfully present in the country, residents and domiciled in San Francisco State and County. So if a mother is unlawful, that's not contemplated there. When that person's and that mother's presence in the United States at the time of the said birth was lawful but temporary, such as but not limited to, visiting the United States under the auspices of a waiver program or visiting on student work or tourist visa, and the father was not a citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of the birth, right? So that's even broader. She had lawful presence, but it was temporary. Okay, so not a lawful permanent resident. It was a visa waiver, tourist visa, or those other things. It's temporary. So it is limited to their connection to the country. They're subject to the jurisdiction, kind of. They're here very temporarily. They're not a part of the fabric of the country because they're going back. So you can see that's what it does. Now, the policy, they say it is the policy of the United States that no department or agency of the government shall issue documents recognizing U.S. citizenship or accept documents issued to local or other authorities purporting to recognize these people. If that person's mother was unlawfully present and the father was not a citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time, you're not a citizen. And when that person's mother was lawful, like when she was here lawfully, but it was temporary, and the father's not a citizen, doesn't count. You're not a citizen. And both of those, as we'll see fleshed out in court, I believe are in alignment with the 14th Amendment. Now, subsection A of this section shall apply only to persons who were born within the United States after 30 days of the date of this order. So you're also going to hear a lot of screeching and hemming and hawing from the left, including in the documents we'll look at in a minute, that are saying everybody's going to be, their citizen is stripped away. No, that's not even what Trump is saying. Only to people who were born 30 days from now. You don't count. So moms and dads, figure out where you want to have these kids. Nothing in this order shall be construed to infect the entitlement of other individuals, including the children of lawful permanent residents, okay? If you were here, and this is in alignment with Wong Kim Ark. If you're lawfully here and you have a kid, you're good. Enforcement saying the Secretary, the Attorney General, and DHS, and Social Security, okay, everybody, you're not getting a Social Security card or number. You're not a citizen. Take all appropriate measures to ensure that the regulations of their departments comply. The heads of the departments shall also issue public guidance within 30 days so everybody knows what to do. And these are the definitions signed here by the White House. January 20th, birthright citizenship is now aborted. So what you can see is they were unhappy about this. So we'll see what they sued over, suing everybody in the Trump administration, telling us this is the left, this is the onslaught that is coming down, the attacks on birthright citizenship, which Trump's order is in total alignment with Wong Kim Ark, says the states of Washington, Arizona, and a bunch of other blue states, except Arizona this time, shout out, and we're going to take our governorship back soon too, including the public agencies, public programs, and others, against the illegal actions of President Trump. They say his order is contrary to the plain terms of the 14th Amendment. They say he has no authority to amend the Constitution. He didn't at all. He's interpreting it appropriately. Nor is he empowered to determine who shall or shall not be citizens. The 14th Amendment is automatic. They say, look, and this is, look, you can see, right? They didn't even read his order. If the citizenship stripping order is allowed to stand, there will be irreparable harm. And it's not stripping anybody of their citizenship, just to be clear, right? It's removing the granting of citizenship to new babies who are not here lawfully. Illegal babies, which is crazy. And their residents will suffer immediate and irreparable harm. They say in 2022 alone, there were 250,000 births of citizen children to non-citizen mothers without lawful status, okay? So that's about 1/2 Wyoming. And another 153,000 births to 2 undocumented parents. So it's a lot of babies. In 2020 alone, there were 7,000 U.S. citizen children born to mothers who lacked legal status, so illegal, and 4,000 children who were born to 2 parents who also lack legal status. So a lot of babies, right? This is why this is very important. And I think that this is an issue that the Republicans can actually win on in this season and in this cycle. Saying individuals who are stripped of their citizenship, again, that's not happening. Trump, we just read the order. They're lying. That's not what he's doing. Nobody who has citizenship now is going to lose it. It says for new babies. So just ignore their whining. The citizenship stripping order will also injure the states because funding, they're going to lose federal funding. They need more money for all their illegal babies that are being dropped in the country. Now, to prevent the president and other governments' unlawful action from harming us, you should do something about this. So it's all public policy garbage. They're not even talking. They're trying to talk past the sale, essentially. Oh, it's obvious on its face. The 14th Amendment says this obviously. Then why don't you spend some time explaining that? Why do you just keep talking about how many babies you wish were here that you can then siphon off into your 300,000 missing babies farm? So they go through the plaintiffs here and the defendants. We know who all these people are. Social Security, Michelle King, Social Security. They list all the defendants, the entire government. And here's what they say. All right, look. The 14th Amendment, they say, all persons born in the United States, and they actually included that. That's good. Senator Mazie Hirono, she did ... She cut that out. Pretty important phrase. She calls it the citizenship clause here and says that there is automatic conferral of citizenship on all individuals born in the United States and subject to its jurisdiction, regardless of the citizenship or immigration status of their parents. That's not what it says. Subject to the jurisdiction means these things. It doesn't say this, you just wrote it out here. It doesn't say anything in this phrase about regardless of anything. The clause was passed and ratified to respond to the Dred Scott case. And what they tell us is this is the principle of jus soli, the default rule of citizenship in the United States. It's automatic. There's nothing else that's required. And there are no exceptions to it, they say. There are, but if they are, it's very limited. Like diplomats, children of diplomats covered by diplomatic immunity, or enemy combatants engaged in war, which some people might say that's who some of these people are. Indeed, the 14th Amendment was explicit that all persons born in the United States with only limited exceptions. And so here we go, right? This is where they're latching onto this case that we just showed you, and watch how they pervert this because they're so disgusting. The Supreme Court cemented this in their case of Wong Kim Ark. There, the Supreme Court held that a child born in the United States to non-citizen parents was entitled to automatic citizenship. Yeah, they may have been non-citizens, okay, right there, but they were lawfully domiciled and residenced. You left that part out because you're liars. The 14th Amendment, they quote the case, it affirms the ancient and fundamental rule of citizenship by birth within a territory. And watch, in the allegiance and under the protection of the country. Illegal aliens are not operating in allegiance to our country. They're openly in violation of the law. So that includes children. So their own citation to this is undermining their argument, saying that there are exceptions like children of foreign sovereigns, ministers, public enemies. There's exceptions for Indian tribes and more. So this includes, they say, that it's children born, they get citizenship. Otherwise, we would be able to deny citizenship to a bunch of people like the Scottish, Irish, German, and more. Then they came back out, right? So my point here, they reference this case, but they leave out one of the most key components. Yeah, they were non-citizens, but they were lawfully in the country. So it doesn't apply to your application where you want illegals to be counted. In addition, the Supreme Court has also made clear that undocumented immigrants are, quote, subject to the jurisdiction. In Plyer v. Doe, which is a 1982 case, they then interpreted the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, which is a different clause, and they explained that within its jurisdiction, right, so then they pervert the subject to the jurisdiction. They change subject to, meaning you're acquiescing to the laws of the sovereign state, to within. See how perverted that gets? That's not how that works. That's not what the 14th Amendment says. It's not within, it's subject to. So they say, well, since the Supreme Court perverted that, now the 14th Amendment says that as long as the laws apply to you, even if you violate the laws, you get the benefit of violating the laws, which is your kid gets citizenship, which is obviously a very big gift. The court said a person's initial entry into a state was unlawful, and that may be the reason to expel him, but it cannot negate the simple fact of his presence. And given the presence means you're subject to the full range of obligations imposed by the laws. And they violate the laws and they get a benefit for doing that. You see how perverse and illogical that is? It's insane. The executive branch now has accepted this for years, and not anymore. All of this, it doesn't matter that they accepted it and acted like this was the de facto rule. It's not legally correct. So I don't care about any of this. They accepted and endorsed this reading. In 1995, the Justice Department came out, wrote some stupid opinion about it, saying that if you deny citizens and citizenship to people born in this country, it would be unconstitutional on its face. How? It would be unquestionably unconstitutional. Anytime you see phrases like that in any type of writing, and they're just presuming the conclusion in their point, you can just throw it out. It's meaningless. The OLC's statement and their opinion recognize that throughout this country's history, the fundamental legal principle governing citizenship has been that birth within the territory confers citizenship. Not exactly, because Wong Kim Ark said that the parents needed to be there. They were there lawfully. The OLC, they wrote their little memo about this, and it's fine. They can write a memo. Trump's interpretation is different. He's not bound by the OLC statement on what this means. He's bound by the Constitution, and the Constitution says subject to. And so Congress reaffirmed this. They passed 8 U.S. Code 1401, which says the same damn thing. It says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. The fact that Congress reiterated this and copy and pasted the statute confirms it is subject to. It's not within the jurisdiction. Federal and state agencies rely on this fundamental and longstanding grant to do federal programs. Okay, so it's like we need this, so therefore you should keep it. The U.S. State Department is talking about applicants born in the United States, and it's like it's on all the paperwork. I mean, the Social Security also has long accepted this, that all kids born here are citizens. They've all accepted, that's fine, they've accepted it. It's been illegal. It's been illegal. Now, the Social Security's guidance is consistent with federal regulations, they say, so we should just keep everything the same. And they say state law also agrees. For example, Arizona has a unique and complicated proof of citizenship requirement. Birth certificates play an important role, and if you screw this up, it's going to mess everything up. If the U.S. birth certificate were to stop being sufficient proof of citizenship, voter registrations would be difficult and time-consuming. Yeah, well, that's okay, because we don't want illegals voting in our state elections. So, as you can see, it's a lot of public policy complaints. The president is going to hurt a lot of us. They say he acted without legal authority to do this. And he's not stripping anybody of their citizenship. Hello. It's moving forward. You don't get granted the citizenship. Trump's statements make clear he wishes to end this purely as a policy tactic to deter immigration. But this is out of bounds. What? During his most recent campaign, he made clear he was going to do this on day one, and then he did it. After 2024, he continued to state that it should be ended, and then he did it. This order, they realize now, It states effective in 30 days, no one's going to recognize U.S. citizen persons to people who are born in this category. So now they realize, like, this lawsuit is just terrible. The Constitution does not empower the president to set rules of citizenship. No, but it does empower him to execute the Constitution. He does run the executive branch. Hello. And he has an obligation and a sworn oath to implement and follow the Constitution, which is exactly what he's doing. He's not amending the Constitution. Stop crying. The Constitution, he's not granting or denying citizenship to anybody. He's enforcing the law. They keep going. They say U.S. citizens are entitled to all rights and benefits, okay, but they're not citizens. That's the thing. And nobody's being stripped, you lunatics. Stop saying it. They're not stripped of anything. They just don't get it moving forward. Lots of federal programs need it, blah, blah, blah. All right, so you see what's happening here. That is one lawsuit. Let me show you another one from the ACLU, I believe. Yeah. United Latin American Citizens, League of United Latin American Citizens. This one's a lot shorter because they know their argument's bad. 17 pages, filed in New Hampshire. They say birthright citizenship embodies America's most fundamental promise that all children born on our soil begin life as full and equal members of our community, regardless of their origin or status. This principle has enabled generations of children to pursue their dreams and build a stronger America. Yeah, because their parents were here legally. Now, the framers of the 14th wanted to enshrine this so that no one, not even the president, could deny children born in America their rightful place. That's not what it did. They did so with full knowledge and intent that this would protect children of immigrants, including those facing discrimination and exclusion. These were part of the Reconstruction Amendments that came after the Civil War. There was a bigger issue there than illegal immigrants. Citizenship clause says born or naturalized and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And again, they're citing Wong Kim Ark. They say over 125 years, the Supreme Court emphatically rejected the last effort to undercut this. And the principle has remained undisturbed constitutional bedrock. I disagree. They just say that. Just because you say it doesn't make it true. Even though countless immigration debates and periods of intense anti-immigration sentiment, this has been the rule. Now, for families today, birthright citizenship represents a promise that their children can achieve their full pardon as Americans. Yeah, and you're seeing these conversations pop up on the internet now where people who are in these like H-1B threads who are saying to themselves, well, why would I come to America and have a child there if I don't get the benefit of having my kid have citizenship there? They're like, they're like realizing, maybe they're going to turn off that spigot, right? And that's a strong incentive for people to come and do that. And maybe the American population is sick of that happening. So, but they want that to happen. Now, it means children born here can dream of becoming doctors and blah, 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 and more. Now, flouting the Constitution's dictates and long-standing precedent, Trump issued an executive order. And now, anybody who is unlawfully present who drops a baby off is not going to count. They say this violates the citizenship clause, of course, because, obviously. And they tell us everybody's being sued. Just solely, again, came from Wong Kim Ark. It's got roots in English common law, which we don't care about. You can see they're citing here an English reporter from 1608. Great. We're not England. And it applies to the colonial era. Now, after the Civil War, Congress repudiated Dred Scott and said that there was citizenship for the freed people who were subject to the jurisdiction of the country, meaning they were here in a lawful status. In doing so, they strove to transform American citizenship. Now, accordingly, in Wong Kim Ark, the children of two Chinese nationals who were at the time barred under the Chinese Exclusion Acts came and they decided he was a citizen. Again, they leave it out. They're so disgusting. Chinese nationals in the country lawfully residing legally. The only exception is foreign diplomats, foreign armies, Native Americans. And let me show you something else. This is pretty sick, actually. But if you also look up, do you realize what's happening in the American Samoa? What is happening here is pretty ridiculous. But this is another case that the Supreme Court refused to take up. It's called the Fitzsimonu case. This was decided back from the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. So let's just frame out this argument for a minute. The left is saying that people who break American law and violate our national sovereignty in order to come in and siphon off of the American platform because they don't want to stay in their own countries and put pressure on their leaders and their elected officials to reform their countries, and would rather just be used as a pressure relief valve to go into some other country so it's not their problem, it's ours. The liberals want to take those people and give them tremendous benefits of their children becoming American citizens. It's a huge thing to be an American citizen. It's an amazing thing. We're promised all sorts of rights and privileges that they then try to take from us, but they're ours. They're ours. Now, there's a whole separate country, actually an American territory, called the American Samoa. And it's located right here in this little red dot in between Hawaii and Australia. And what you'll notice on this little island is an interesting thing that's happening there. It's an American territory, okay? It's America. It's 75 miles. It's the size of Washington, D.C. A lot of Samoans are there. It's in between Hawaii and Australia. They use the dollar, okay? Their president is President Trump, the same as ours. They have the highest military rate of any territory or state. Okay, so they beat out all the other 50 states in the country. More people there are in the military than anywhere. They do not have birthright citizenship. Okay, so all of those things. No birthright citizenship for them. If you are somebody who lives there, you have a baby, they're not American citizens. They're called American nationals. And they don't have any congressional representation, okay? So this guy, Fitzimanu, ended up suing. He's like, what? This is crazy. Okay, we're basically Americans. But because of these insular cases, the Supreme Court rejected that. And they do not get citizenship, even though they're in American territory. So in other words, what the Democrats are asking the people of America to do is to put people who are lawfully breaking, or illegally breaking American laws ahead of our American Samoa friends. Not even caring about them. Why should they get that privilege if Fitzimanu and these people don't even get it? It's a perverse system. So they say the 14th Amendment, okay, it doesn't do that at all. In 1940, Congress enacted another statute, and then Trump revoked all of it. It says it will apply to persons, they're all now admitting it, to people born after 30 days from its issuance. And so, of course, they got sued. And Gail and Thomas, their child, when born, would be denied citizenship. So Gail and Thomas are coming in. And you know what's been so interesting about this, right, is how this has been expanded. So it went from like, well, if you're born here, then you are automatically a citizen, even if your parents are illegal. Then they tried to move it beyond that with that Dreamer Act, remember? So that if you come over here as just a young kid, like you're not actually born here, but it's kind of like horseshoes, like close enough. Like you're 2 or 3 or 15 even, and you come across the border with your parent, then it's like close enough. Like you're not born in the country, but like kind of. So we'll just count it. And then you can become a citizen. And that obviously never passed, but then it turned into DACA, deferred action for childhood arrivals, and other undocumented nonsense. So it's just moving that line down for years. So then they found these two people, Gail and Thomas. Gail's pregnant. She came to the United States on a tourist visa in 2023. Has a pending application for asylum, no other current immigration status. She's pregnant, due in late February. Thomas is Gail's husband. He came in 2023 on a tourist visa, currently has an application for asylum that went to Joe Biden, but no other immigration status. He's the father. Many of these members are not lawfully here. They're not citizens and not lawful permanent residents, and they're expecting a baby. This person called Faith is pregnant. She's lived here for 20 years. She's a DACA recipient, but her and her partner, who's the father of the child, he's not a lawful resident either, not a U.S. citizen. Gordon, same situation. Jonathan, same situation. LULAC's members include all these people, and so they're just waiting to drop those babies right in America so that they can get American citizenship. Interesting. So if that happens, they're going to be denied that future right. Okay, their kids are not going to be stripped of anything. They're not stripping them of anything. They're just not going to be getting something to which they were not entitled. They do call it a priceless treasure. It is a priceless treasure. That's why we cherish it. That's why we want to protect it. We don't want people to exploit our citizenship system. So they're very upset about it. And lawsuits flying all over the place. All right, so we get the gist of what the lawsuits look like. Now let's take a look and see what the court has said on this. A very short order, 4 pages. This one coming out of Washington, Seattle by Judge Kofenor. All right, he says here, all right, this matter comes before the court on the emergency motion for a temporary restraining order filed by the numerous states. The states are challenging Trump's executive order entitled Protecting the Meaning and the Value of American Citizenship. Now, having considered the motion, the court grants the state's emergency restraining order and makes the following findings of fact. They say, the states face irreparable injury as a result of the signing and the implementation of the executive order. Why? Well, the order harms the states directly by forcing state agencies to lose federal funding and incur substantial costs to provide essential and legally required medical care and social services to resident children subject to the order. In other words, not deliver the babies or something? Let's see. Plaintiff states' residents are also harmed by depriving them of their constitutional right to citizenship and all the associated rights associated with those, including subjecting them to risk of deportation and family separation, depriving them of access to federal funding for medical care and eligibility for basic public benefits that prevent child poverty and promote child health and impact their education, employment, and health. So these non-citizens and their children are going to be denied public benefits, and so that's why they're citizens? Again, they're not addressing the underlying argument. They're just saying the temporary restraining order is allowed because there's going to be immediate harm, and all the harm benefits to illegals. So these harms are immediate, they're ongoing, and they're significant, and they cannot be remedied. And so a temporary restraining order is necessary so that we can hash this out later, right? This is a preliminary motion, and we'll have more filings. Now, Trump's people have said that they're going to vigorously fight for this, and so this is going to be a lot of fun. Here's their conclusion. They say the court has jurisdiction over this. The state's efforts to contact Trump reasonably and substantially complied with the rules. No security bond is necessary, and they have standing to bring the suit. They show that there will be a concrete and imminent injury, and if they cannot, they say if the states cannot treat birthright citizens as that, like citizens, okay, so if the state cannot take these new babies and call them citizens, they're going to lose out on federal funds for which they're otherwise currently eligible. So they get federal money for delivering illegal babies, and that's going to be a harm to the state. They're not going to get money for delivering babies. Therefore, you have to call the babies citizens so the states can get paid. Because it would be ridiculous if we were paying to deliver illegal babies. That would be nuts for us to do that. I mean, we are doing it. We're just calling them citizens because, money. That is a sufficiently concrete and imminent injury to satisfy Article 3 standing, because they're going to lose millions of dollars of your taxpayer dollars. Plaintiffs also have standing to challenge the order because of operational costs. We have to change our forms. And so to issue a temporary restraining order, the states must establish that they'll win, that there's irreparable harm, that it's fair, and that this is in the public interest. And so he's going to give us the details. He says, first of all, there's a strong likelihood that they're going to succeed on the merits of their claims because the executive order violates Wong Kim Ark. And no, it does not. The holding there was related to permanent lawful residents, not illegals. with no lawful permanent status or are here on visas. The people who were Kim Wong Ark's parents were permanent, not visa. The plaintiff states have shown that they're likely to suffer irreparable harm, and this is going to impact them because they're not going to get that money back. Yeah, your illegal immigration grift is coming to a halt. Medical care, social services, substantial administrative burdens if we have to comply with the order. We have to change our forms and stop serving illegals. Moreover, the plaintiff states will suffer immediate repercussions if this goes into place. So the balance of the equities favor the states, and so it's now ordered that Trump and the federal government is enjoined from implementing this order in any of those subsections that we just read, and it is now in effect, signed this 23rd day of January. All right, so obviously Trump has the entire Department of Justice now at his fingertips, and so they are going to be fighting on this aggressively, and I think I saw an X about that. Let me see if I can pull that up relatively quickly so that I can share that with you. But there was, yes, here it is, from Scott McFarlane. Says, new, the Department of Justice will vigorously defend President Trump's executive order, which correctly interprets the 14th Amendment of the Constitution and is in alignment, I think, with Supreme Court precedent, even if that Supreme Court precedent is bad and just solely was never the proper interpretation of it in the first place. But we look forward to presenting a full merits argument to the court and to the American people who are desperate to see our nation's laws enforced. And there is not a single country in Europe that has pure, unrestricted, just solely birthright citizenship. They've all got it connected to other things. And that's how the United States should interpret the 14th Amendment, because that is how the founders who drafted that amendment intended it to be interpreted. All right, and so we'll keep our eye on that. We're going to have Trump and his people respond, obviously, at the DOJ, and we're looking forward to seeing what that one looks like. But the border battle is just warming up. 10,000 troops now going to the border. No more access to asylum. Border is closed. We've got to look at a briefing document, and we've got a memo that came out from the DOJ, Office of the Deputy Attorney General. Emil Bove signed there. Good to see you, Emil. Sharing this, telling sanctuary cities that if you don't comply with federal requirements, you're going to be in trouble and they're going to come after you. So the Washington Post shared this with us, saying that they looked at this briefing document and how 10,000 people are now being relocated to secure our southern border. 10,000 troops. That's according to a briefing document that they obtained. The order directs border agents to block entry to migrants on the grounds that they've passed through countries where diseases are present. Saying, well, you might have a disease, so you're blocked. The DoD Defense Department will send at least 1,500 additional active duty ground troops to the southern border in what could be the first of several waves of deployment, said Acting Secretary of Defense Robert Salesses. These forces will bolster about 2,500 who are already there. Other active duty troops will pilot military planes to assist DHS in deporting migrants who are already in detention, the DHS said. He said this is just the beginning. The briefing, which was delivered on Tuesday to senior staff by newly appointed Border Patrol chief called Mike Banks, instructs U.S. agents to use an extraordinary emergency authority to close our border. The only two Border Patrol officials who can authorize the release of an asylum seeker into the U.S. with a pending humanitarian claim are Banks and his deputy. That's just incredible. Oh, man, that's like Elon, baby. You know, I want to see it exactly. You need a humanitarian claim. Oh, okay. You got to go talk to the CEO if you want to get that done. Gosh, the briefing document, that's business. No, nobody wants to go talk to those two dudes. So everyone's going. The briefing document is an early glimpse into the real-world application of the fusillade of executive orders Trump issued on Monday and their translation and how this is going over to 19,000 agents. White House not responding to comments. During COVID, Trump also used emergency public health laws to close off asylum. This time, they're not citing a specific disease. They're just saying, well, you might have a sniffle, so you're blocked. The planning document calls for leveraging the government's full authority under the Immigration and Nationality Act to suspend entry. A separate order that Trump issued declared a national emergency down there, and Border Patrol agents have been directed to hold any non-Mexican migrant for deportation via air, rather than trying to send them back to Mexico. These orders are expected to result in a significant increase in the number of detainees being held, and according to these documents, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is preparing to more than double its detention capacity by opening 4 new 10,000-bed facilities and 14 smaller sites with a space for 700 to 1,000 people. The Defense Department may also utilize military bases like holding facilities, says the document. Trump officials have told lawmakers they're going to need billions of dollars to meet the deportation goals. Canada will be asked to accept migrants who cross illegally from their country as well. Now, Border Patrol is holding 5,500 detainees who recently crossed at temporary sites. The number of migrants taken into custody has fallen since Trump's inauguration. On Tuesday, Trump's first full day, about 800 were taken into custody, down from a daily average of 1,300. Border Patrol info and officers have been directed to highlight their muscular deployment. They're saying, we're now going to be deterring you from coming. U.S. officials who described the initial buildup said the personnel was about 1,000 soldiers, 500 Marines, going to be added to 2,500 that Biden sent down there. Discussions are also underway to send thousands more, said one U.S. official. Others speaking on condition of anonymity. In a briefing with the Pentagon on Wednesday evening last night, senior officials told reporters that the deployments approved by Wednesday are an initial step. The mission could grow to 10,000, but it's too soon to say. The military personnel assigned to the border will have an array of missions, nothing involving law enforcement, unless necessary. Their early assignments will include building barriers to slow the entry, and the number of military personnel went up to about 8,000 in 2018. The administration also going to increase surveillance. Trump's carrying out his priorities. Admiral Kevin Lunday, the Coast Guard's new acting commandant, declared on Tuesday that he had directed his commanders to immediately surge cutters, aircraft, boats, and special forces to the U.S. maritime borders. He said that he sought to block Haitian and Cubans from coming in from the southeast and around Alaska, and he's going to be sending agents to the Gulf of America. Yes! Lunday was referring to the Gulf of America. Look at these journalists. They're so pathetic, okay? He was referring to the Gulf of Mexico. No, it's not called that anymore. You guys got to update your terms. Trump on Monday signed an executive order giving the Interior Secretary 30 days to rename the area the Gulf of America. It's done. What are you saying? This is fake news. It's now the Gulf of America. Together in coordination with our Department of Homeland Security and others, we're stopping this. Also, the DOJ ordered a federal contractor to halt programs that offered free legal guidance to immigrants who are facing deportation, including detained adults, families, and children. Okay, so our own stupid government was like helping them break the law. Thank you for that. Immigrants aren't entitled to public defenders in immigration court because they're illegal. One of the halted programs provided legal representation to unaccompanied children released from U.S. custody, which shouldn't be facilitated and trafficked into our country in the first place. But Trump's policy advisor huddled with Senate Republicans to talk about military deployment. Lawmakers frustrated with the number of gotaways, and they're bringing that to an end. And so here was another order that came out from the DOJ, sent to all department employees from the Office of the Deputy Attorney General, the person who will be under Pam Bondi as soon as she is confirmed. We believe it's Emil Bove, who represented President Trump in a number of cases. Here, this is from the acting Deputy AG, saying to everybody, all department employees, getting this message. Following President Trump's second inauguration, I write regarding interim decisions and policy changes pending the confirmation of Pam Bondi. These interim changes are necessary as an initial response to Trump's executive orders, and part of the response to three of the most serious threats facing the American people. First, cartels and transnational criminal organizations like Tren de Aragua and La Mara Salvatrucha, MS-13, are a scourge on society, resulting in unstable and unsafe borders and a huge flow of illegal immigration in violation of U.S. law. One. Number two, there are also brutal and intolerable violent crime by members of these organizations and illegals that is escalating rapidly across the country. And third, the fentanyl and opioid epidemic are poisoning our communities, causing addiction, suffering, and death. And so, the Justice Department will work to eradicate these threats. It's our responsibility to do this. And so that's what we're going to be doing now together. Here's what's changing. Interim changes to our policy about charging and sentencing are necessary to get this done. Therefore, effective today, the DOJ's interim policy regarding charging and sentencing that is set forth in a prior memo is rescinded, effective today. Anything that's inconsistent with our policy now is rescinded. Specifically, in the absence of unusual facts, here's the new rule. Prosecutorial discretion at the DOJ is bounded by core principles. You must prove the most serious and readily provable offenses. These are the most serious offenses and work down from the death penalty down. Each U.S. Attorney and Assistant Attorney General is responsible for following these policies. Now, I expect faithful execution of immigration laws. Consistent with President Trump's orders, the Justice Department will take all steps to protect America's border, and we're going to remove illegal aliens from this country. Here's the plan. Consistent with the core principles of pursuing the most serious, readily provable offense, the U.S. Attorney's offices and other components shall pursue charges relating to criminal immigration-related violations when those violations are presented by feds, state, local law enforcement, or the IC. That includes violations for any of these crimes, certain immigration-related offense and more. They cite a series of them. Each attorney's office shall coordinate as appropriate with the federal courts to inform them of this policy and the increased number of prosecutions that will result, okay? We are now prosecuting these criminal charges that are related to immigration. If you decline this, any declination decision shall be disclosed as urgent reports pursuant to the Justice Manual, okay? So if you're a federal prosecutor and you're not prosecuting immigration crimes, you have to explain why. Why did you decline to charge this when the local cops brought it to you? Now, on a court, meaning you got to come to the teacher's office and explain yourself. On a quarterly basis, the U.S. Attorney's Office shall report statistics broken down by law enforcement agency about how many people were prosecuted for what and why. The Organized Crime Enforcement Act will also create initiatives and facilitate access to task forces and more. We're going to devote a bunch of time, all these resources, to almost blew a gasket right there. Oh, gosh. All right, we're back. Whew. All these agencies are now going to be devoting a bunch of time to prosecuting these cases. Pending implementation of these task forces, once Trump comes in and these task forces are created, they're going to assist the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, and the Bureau of Prisons shall review their files. And we're going to find out where these non-citizens are located illegally in the United States. We want biometric data. We're going to review their files. All of you, FBI, DEA, ATF, USMS, BOP, review your files. Give us the records. Where are they hiding? All information shall be disclosed to Kristi Noem at Homeland for the purpose of facilitating these removals. We're going to do enforcement actions, and we're going to conduct immigration-related prosecutions. And we're going to follow the data where it leads. The agency's reviews and these disclosures shall be completed in 60 days. Don't delay. And guess what? So this is where they're coming after the local folks. If you're Gavin Newsom or any one of these sanctuary states, you are on notice. The Supremacy Clause and other authorities require state and local actors to comply with the executive branch's immigration enforcement activities. Federal law prohibits state and local actors from resisting, obstructing, or otherwise failing to comply with our commands and our requests. The president has constitutional authority over national security and immigration, and U.S. attorneys' offices and litigating components of the DOJ, man, they're not playing, shall investigate incidents involving any such misconduct for potential prosecution, including for obstructing the federal functions of the DOJ in violation of the law. Wow. Declination decisions with respect to resistance, obstruction, or other noncompliance shall be disclosed as urgent reports pursuant to the Justice Manual. And finally, laws and actions that threaten to impede the executive branch immigration initiatives that are passed by these sanctuary states, including if they try to prohibit disclosure to federal authorities, they threaten public safety and national security. They're insurrecting the nation. So try to be a sanctuary city moving forward, and we'll see how that works out for you. You're going to be under investigation. The Civil Division shall work with the newly established Sanctuary Cities Enforcement Working Group within the office to identify state, local, and policies that are inconsistent with the executive branch and, where appropriate, to take legal action to challenge those laws, okay? They are not playing. This is telling them, we're going to investigate you and prosecute you. You're violating national security. So pass your little sanctuary laws and go to jail for insurrecting the country. Well done from Emil Bove. Not playing around. Honestly, this is incredible. It's wild to see it in writing, right? These are the Gavin Newsoms and all these other cities. Like, you comply or we're coming for you. So it's there in writing. All DOJ attorneys now got that memo. So we're not playing. Now, what we're seeing here is a reshuffling of world opinions. Claudia Sheinbaum, who represents Mexico as their president, has come out and responded to the new Gulf of America, saying, why don't we just call Arizona and New Mexico Mexicana or something? And we said, oh, that's fighting words there. We don't like those types of threats towards our country. But now she's saying, whoa, everybody, let's just keep our heads cool. All right. We don't want to get carried away here. Bloomberg's reporting. She says Mexico must keep our heads cool. President says the U.S. can't intervene in Mexico against cartels. Well, we'll see about that. Sheinbaum says that she's focused on the details rather than Trump's rhetoric. We're not so sure about that. We also saw that the peso was tumbling as a result of this back and forth. She called on Mexicans to focus on the fine print of Trump's executive orders, saying it's important to always keep a cool head and refer to the signed orders beyond the actual rhetoric. That's what counts. In her first statement since all of this, I mean, the orders are pretty clear. We just read them. So hopefully you did too, and you abide. She said that any promise to designate Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist groups, saying that she would defend Mexico's sovereignty and independence. Yeah. Well, we're going to come liberate the cartels. We like to liberate things here. She added that she was waiting for Foreign Affairs Minister Juan Ramon and Marco Rubio to begin talking, and we'll see how that goes. Sheinbaum, who's spoken by phone with Trump twice, did not respond to the new threats of 25% tariffs coming in like 7-8 days. The Mexican peso weakened by 1.4% before trimming losses a day after Trump's remarks, the worst performing among emerging markets. She sought to avoid tariffs on all Mexican goods, which could jeopardize nearly $800 billion in annual trade between the two countries. She also downplayed the executive order from Trump declaring an emergency on the border and sending armed forces down there. She said Mexico will act in a humanitarian manner, but also seek to repatriate foreigners to their countries if the U.S. removes them. Remain in Mexico required people to wait in Mexico. Mexico also outlined its strategy with the deportation of its own citizens, stating there were 189 buses ready to transport them from the border to Mexico help centers. 189 buses. Trump also said on Monday he's going to designate them to be drug cartels as terrorist organizations. In response, she said that the U.S. could take actions that it deems necessary in its own territory, but not in Mexico. We'll see. Analysts have said that an aggressive interpretation of the law could make companies vulnerable to charges of offering support to terrorists, and it could pave the way for military action into Mexico. Trump already floated the idea. I mean, if they're not going to take care of him and they're ruining our country, we've got a national security interest in resolving it. Now, Gulf of America already making its way into government literature. You can see the Sun's reporting on this, saying shock and awe is happening all across the country and the world. The Coast Guard published this, saying that the maritime border between Mexico and Texas in the Gulf of America will be under review. So they're already putting it in their press releases, as they should, because that's the name. Within hours of being sworn in, we now have Gulf of America, and the orders are flying out. We also are seeing that immigration towns are now evaporating and turning into ghost towns. The threat of the immigration raid turned this Chicago hub into a ghost town. Foot traffic in the Latino area of the little village plunged 50%. Border czar Tom Homan's coming in and cleaning house. See, it looks pretty empty there. The second busiest retail corridor in Chicago, typically bustling, but by Monday, ghost town. Word had gotten out that the city would be a target of potential immigration raids, spreading anxiety among residents and business owners alike, and illegals. Trump's inauguration speech and boast of cracking down caused everybody to flee. Foot traffic plunged 50%. It's going to be disastrous, said. If raids happen and people are too afraid to go out, it's going to be an impact that's going to last for years. And maybe those people will deport themselves, is the theory. Trump moved quickly on Monday to fulfill other campaign promises. Came 3 days after the Wall Street Journal reported on what they're planning to do. The third largest city has been a lot of focus from President Trump. And you can see we've got Congress people who are talking about what needs to happen in Mexico. Here is Congressman Carlos Jimenez saying, yep, we're pretty happy to label them terrorist organizations, and we'll go right into Mexico if we have to.
Really glad that they're terrorists, been designated as terrorists by the Trump administration. Now let's go after them and wipe them off the face of the earth.
What do you mean by that? Let's go after them, attack them inside Mexico. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look, I would give Mexico 2 weeks to do the job, and if they can't do the job, then we've got to do the job. We got to protect American citizens. Hey, Stuart, they've been killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, and they do it knowingly, okay, poisoning us. And so, we need to go get them, and we need to wipe them off the face of the earth.
I wonder if America is ready for that kind of, I'm going to call it radical change.
Well, listen, we went to war for 15 years when al-Qaeda killed 3,000 Americans. These Mexican cartels are killing hundreds times more than that, and they're right across the border. And so, we need to go get them and wipe them off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it's about time, right? We've been dealing with this my whole life. It's such a wild experience to be reading and going through all of this because I'm an Arizona boy. I've been here my whole life. And my whole life, I've heard politician after politician whine and moan over immigration. Both sides do it. And then none of them do anything about it. Every governor, every senator, every representative, the same garbage. Nothing changes. Trump came in. It's January 23rd. Everything is changing with the stroke of a pen because there's actual leadership. And why are we interested in everybody else's border, like what's happening in the Middle East and what's happening in Ukraine and all these other foreign theaters, but we're not concerned about what's happening at our own border. So it's finally time to see the U.S. military and the U.S. strength being put to use for American interests. Finally. Here is Alina Abba, who got asked some questions about this, explaining what things are looking like as counsel to the president.
If you're trying to get into this country through the southern border, and you shouldn't be, do not come. And the president and the Pentagon today announced some 1,500 troops moving down to the southern border. Does the White House view this as a permanent assignment, Alina, for these military personnel down there at the border?
I don't think, look, it's what we need at this moment. You know, I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. I can tell you that we have a lot of work to clean up because we've effectively had no door to our home for many, many years. And not only have we had no door to our home, we've incentivized people to come into our home and take our things. And that door has now closed and been locked. And that is the truth. And that's what needed to happen. So I know Tom Homan is incredible. He's focused on it. I spoke with him today. We are going to take whatever measures we need to get America safe again. We are for immigration, but the right way. So, you know, until we clean up the crime, until we take care of the children that are being trafficked, until we take care of the damage, the fentanyl, all the things that are a result of this, our economic problems that are a result of these open borders, until we take care of that, I do see it being something that will exist.
Will exist. Okay, and CBS is reporting tonight, Alina, that there could be up to 10,000 troops. Is this sort of the first phase? Could it reach that number at this point in time or at some point in the future?
Well, I don't know what the exact number is, but I'll tell you this. If you look at the numbers of how many people came in to our country, I wouldn't be surprised if it was that many. It's whatever it takes to undo the damage that has happened. We have to clean up. We have violent criminals coming in through our border for 4 years. Millions and millions. And that's just what they reported. So Tom Homan is looking at this, working with the president to make sure that we are going to get them out and get them out quickly. And yes, the message is clear. You cannot come into our country by walking across the border, getting a credit card for $10,000 and living in our hotels in New York, etc. Those days are now gone. You know, we've been taking a lot of actions, frankly. This is just one of them, but it's a big one and it's important.
And it is happening quickly. There was another report that Tom Homan was responding to, which was a very interesting response. And Will Kane's got a new show over on Fox News. Shout out. That's cool. You can see Tom Homan is responding to this clip of this guy who got arrested and is now going to be deported and sent back to Haiti. He says, I'm not going to go back to Haiti, right? The raids are already starting. This guy's got his head poking out of the window. Don't know if there's any profanity in this clip, but we're going to see together right now. Hopefully there's not. Here it is courtesy of Fox News.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
So, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction. And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with the new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
So you guys got your main target just now, but you got somebody else. What just happened?
So our main target was released by a sanctuary jurisdiction, not honoring a detainer. That person was released back into the community, and when we went to go find him, he's with somebody else who was previously removed from the United States. So he's going to go today too.
And that is exactly what Border Czar Tom Homan has warned would happen.
When we find the bad guy, he's probably with others that are in the United States illegally. They may not be a criminal priority, but we're not walking away from them.
ICE Boston says they will continue to go into sanctuary jurisdictions and do their job.
Today was a good day. Today we took several significant public safety threats out of our communities. Unfortunately, a lot were released by sanctuary policies, but we're here to tell the Commonwealth and the rest of the country that we're going to find them whether they're released or not.
And guys, shortly after we finished filming, ICE Boston told us they arrested 2 more targets in other parts of town away from our cameras. One of those targets is a previously deported Honduran illegal alien who was arrested for raping a woman while putting a gun in her mouth. The other target they got is a Haitian man who first flew into the United States in 2023 as part of President Biden's controversial migrant flights mass parole program. Well, they just picked him up yesterday because he's been arrested locally for sexual assault. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Malugin, it was fascinating to watch all of that. I think I was just saying to Bill, this is terrible for Joe Biden and the legacy that he tried to leave behind. A question from me, how soon will they actually be leaving the country? Does that take a long time?
It depends what country they're from. If they're from cooperable countries like El Salvador, Guatemala, countries like that, it can be quick. It can be within days or weeks. If it's countries that are harder to deport, countries that don't cooperate with the U.S. as much, it can go into a process of months. But the Trump administration is changing policies with something called expedited removal. The bottom line is people at home don't need to understand all the policies. The Trump administration is just going to work as fast as they can to get all the people you just saw on camera there out of the country as fast as possible. They're also going to use their State Department, now led by Marco Rubio, to put pressure on countries that don't cooperate with the U.S. as much when it comes to those deportations.
Bill, just two points of clarification here. It seems a lot of these crimes are associated with sex crimes. I'm just looking at the list a bit earlier today. I don't know if that generally is the case or not. And second, if Boston's a sanctuary city, how are they allowed to do this? Because we told there would be resistance.
They won't for long. DOJ's coming in hot.
Boston doesn't have to cooperate with ICE, but there's nothing they can do to stop ICE from coming into their city and enforcing the law. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. And that's the point ICE makes to us is, look, they don't have to cooperate with our detainer requests. They don't have to tell our officers when they're releasing somebody from jail. But we're going to do our job. We have our intel guys out in the field. We have people with eyes all over the place, and we're going to snatch those guys. So they can make ICE's job more difficult, longer, and more dangerous, but it's not going to stop ICE from doing the job, guys. The bottom line is ICE says it's safer for everybody involved if locals would just hand these guys over in jail once they're arrested, but they don't. They let them out onto the streets. They don't tell ICE about it, so ICE has to spend a lot of resources gathering intel, finding these guys, and then going out into the community to do arrests, which could be dangerous. You saw that combative Haitian man, and then you saw in the case of that one MS-13 member, his friend got snagged. They weren't even looking for him. They were looking for the MS-13 guy. They picked him up because a sanctuary jurisdiction released the MS-13 guy. ICE found him and then found the guy who was in the apartment with. They found out he was an illegal alien as well. So now he's going to be deported too.
Wow.
Why is Boston protecting illegal alien criminals? Why are they not cooperating with ICE to identify those folks so they can get out of there? It's been 3 days. They know where these people are. The federal government knew where they were this whole time, but Biden just allowed it to occur and just allowed very sick and dangerous people to operate freely. Now, what was funny about this is Tom Homan responded to this, was asked, he said he's not going back to Haiti. You heard that guy. He says, I'm not going.
You see that video. I'm curious. What do you think?
Well, he's wrong. He's going back to Haiti. I can tell him that.
We'll see him back in Haiti. So he's heading there. And you also heard the conversation about how Rubio is going to be working at the State Department to prevent other nation states from refusing to accept these people, right? Using the leverage of the State Department to make sure those deals are done. But we also now have a new CIA director. So we'll see what the CIA looks like after John Ratcliffe gets done with it. Here is J.D. Vance swearing in Ratcliffe from just moments ago.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you here. I'm thrilled to be joined, of course, by our incoming Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, John Ratcliffe, as well as his lovely wife, Michelle. And I will say that John is a great patriot, a guy that has the trust of the president, and I think really believes deeply in the mission, first of all, of keeping Americans safe, but also doing it in a way that ensures that the American people have confidence in our national intelligence services. And both of those things really matter. We're not going to have much safety, and we're going to have a great intelligence services unless the American people actually trust that those intelligence services are doing their job. And I have every confidence that John Ratcliffe is going to do that. That's why the president nominated him, and that's why the Senate confirmed him with big margins. Now, normally, after I administer the oath, I would actually invite the new guy to say a few words, but given that he's the leader of the CIA, anything that he told you, he would have to, well, you know how that goes. So John Ratcliffe is not going to give any remarks because every piece of knowledge in his brain is actually classified. So he's going to head straight to Langley and do his job that the American people need him to do. So John, are you ready? I'm ready. Okay, please place your hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand. I, John Ratcliffe.
I, John Ratcliffe,
Do solemnly swear.
that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
That I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
See you guys. Take care.
Bye, JD. Great job. All right. I would like to hear from Ratcliffe to see if he would say anything there, but he's going to be reforming the CIA. Trump just declassified the RFK and MLK files. And we also have a warning that the J6 committee members are now going to be getting subpoenas. And so this also came out from this representative called Will Timmons. He says, you better be careful there, Liz Cheney and Kinzinger and Benny Thompson and Shifty Pencilneck. You're all getting subpoenaed, courtesy of the House Republicans and their new committee.
This election.
I know you want to turn the page. The House is now Republican, Senate Republican. President Donald Trump was sworn in earlier this week. You were at the inauguration. Take us inside the room. What was that like, A? And B, what's your reaction to the flurry of executive actions and orders that President Trump signed?
Let's drop here.
Buckle up, because we're going to get to the bottom of what the nonsense select committee for January 6th. There's a reason that everybody on that committee was pardoned. It's because they were not telling the truth. They were lying to the American people. Look, we all know that what happened on January 6th, 4 years ago, was bad. It was awful. A number of people assaulted law enforcement. That's unacceptable. But the narrative that the Democrats have had for the last 4 years is not true. It's false. They embellish, they lie, and we're going to show them exactly what happened. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to find out why President Biden pardoned all of the members of the January 6th committee. And guess what? Because they're pardoned, they don't have an excuse not to come in and testify before us. So we're going to get to the bottom of this, particularly the members that are no longer in office. Expect a subpoena soon.
Yeah! Liz, you're getting a subpoena, and you're going to have to drag your butt in to testify, and we're looking forward to it. So, all right, my friends, it has been a beautiful day. Now it's time to see what you have to say about this. If you're just joining us, we spent a good portion of the beginning of the show talking about birthright citizenship, and I know it's a little heavy legalese, heavy lifting there, but I think it's going to be an important issue, and Trump's DOJ is going to be fighting for it, and so we had to get up to speed on how the mechanics work. So we talked about several cases, several lawsuits that are already being lobbed against the Trump administration by the blue states who love illegal aliens. And then we saw the actual opinion in Wong Kim Ark, this original case that you're going to hear a lot about. And we showed you what actually it says. And it is explicit that the parents were lawful residents. That is not what the Democrats and the liberals are talking about today. So we talked about that. Curious to see what you think. I know there are alternative interpretations on this, But then we talked about the border. 10,000 troops, not National Guard, 10,000 troops are going down to the border. And the DOJ is not playing around. This was an incredible memo from Emil Bove explaining that if you're a sanctuary city and you're obstructing the investigation and the enforcement of immigration law, you're now on the list. You're going to be scrutinized, maybe even prosecuted. And so department-wide memo went out telling everybody to get on board or else, and that's how it should be. So President of Mexico looks nervous, cartels probably quaking in their boots. But now let's see what you have to say about all of this and more. Thank you for sending in these amazing donos and for supporting our work. And thank you for becoming membos and joining us on our member-only morning streams. We had a great membo stream this morning. It was a lot of fun. We talked about, well, there's a lot of stuff that is happening. And so if you want to be a part of that, you can join us. Go to watchingthewatchers.locals.com or become a membo on YouTube. Just click that join button, and we'll see you tomorrow for our members-only morning stream. Let's see who's joining us here today. We got Donut clipping away for us. Thank you, Donut, for clipping for us. It is almost Friday, and we're excited about that one. Tony Hay Munkets is bringing in 5 new membos. Honk Honk is coming in. And Soroka, we got No Set Direction, Tracy M, and Don Marie WB in the house, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Hey, hey, it's the Munkets. What's up, Glocky says. All right, ICE isn't screwing around, and I'm wondering if the deceleration of national security crisis at the border does away with certain legal rights for lawyers. Says, holy moly, ICE just raided the offices of Joseph Flynn in Rhode Island. He's a top immigration lawyer. Heads are going to start rolling. Wow. I wonder if they have some basis for that. Yeah, raiding a lawyer's office is a big deal. You generally don't do that because you need like a filter team to filter out privileged materials. So they might have evidence of, well, who knows? We'll see where that one goes. Thank you for that one. Glocky says, breaking news, Ratcliffe is officially the new CIA director. Indeed, indeed. I saw that. We just played that clip. That was super fun. And this next question from Pookie's Ma says, here, what's up, Pookie's Ma? Is it true that Hegseth is being held up? Yeah, actually, it is true. And there is something happening right now in the Senate, actually. So I had that queued up. I was keeping my eye on that because the vote is supposed to happen tomorrow, but it could happen today.
And Muslim nation.
Let's see. This is right now.
Those comments
confirmation
were
hearing
explored in some detail in his testimony. My concern is there have been numerous reports, in addition to his own words, that appear to convey a hostility on his part, if not outright antagonism toward Islam and Muslims.
Hegseth hates Muslims. Okay.
A former employee of Concerned Veterans for America alleged that he shouted racist and Islamophobic chants during an official tour in Ohio, well publicized and well known in the region where.
Okay, so they're still debating Hegseth. Now, I also saw something while we're here. Let me just pull this up as we're just kind of parsing through that. What's his name? Thune. John Thune said, we're going to be here all weekend. So you guys can delay if you want to, but we're going to be here all weekend. And let me see if I can find this one because they're trying to slow roll these confirmations. And let's see. Here's what he just posted. For years, when they were in the majority, Democrat senators were declaring their commitment to eliminating the filibuster, but now they filibustered a common sense bill. So that's from John Thune, Leader John Thune. And here's what he just said. So Democrats have already begun stalling Trump's nominees. Doesn't seem to matter who it is. And John Ratcliffe's nomination was announced 2 months ago. His hearing was a week ago. Now it's time to vote. So Ratcliffe just got voted in, but here's what Thune was saying about this.
Connecticut is holding up a vote on John Ratcliffe, who was nominated for director of the Central Intelligence Agency.
So this is moot, but let's just see what he says about the other ones.
Favorably reported Mr. Radcliffe's nomination on a vote. He says senators need time for a full, real debate. Well, where are they?
Nowhere. For Hegseth.
Why are we not debating? Nothing's been stopping any of our Democrat colleagues from coming down to the floor to debate and make any concerns that they have known to the Senate and to the American people. At least one senator has already taken advantage of that opportunity. The senator from Connecticut also says that senators need more time to review the nominee's record. Well, Mr. President, Mr. Radcliffe's nomination was announced 2 months ago.
All right, so Ratcliffe has now been passed, but they're delaying the others, and Hegseth is being contemplated right now. So I did see a post that Thune was saying that there would be something happening over the weekend. Yeah, here it was. From Andrew. He says, Thune says the Senate will move straight to Nome after Hegseth. No breaks, which means the Senate will be in session every day through the weekend and next week. So we're not playing. And RFK Jr. is going to be here next week, I think on Wednesday. So we'll be live streaming that whole one too for HHS. I think that starts at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. So yeah, great questions there. Thank you, Pookie's Ma, for asking about it. Currently being held up. I think they're debating it in the Senate as it stands right now, but it might not be until tomorrow. Glocky, Murkowski's garbage. Yeah, she's that squishy senator from Alaska. Her statement against why she won't vote for Pete was utter garbage. Yeah. Her and Collins, too. Voice of the People says, subject to the jurisdiction thereof was to say former slaves are citizens because they were only 3/5 of a person back then. Yeah, right, exactly. It didn't mean that people who are violating the jurisdiction of the nation state can have kids and make them citizens. That's not what the 14th Amendment ever said. Knox is here. Happy Thursday, all. Imagine how long my boo, RFK Jr., has been waiting for this one. Probably a long time there, Knox. You should send your boo a little smoochy text tonight, you know. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. Yeah, I'm sure he was waiting for years, Knox. We played that at the start of the show. This one came in. Okay, we're going to skip some of those memes. What's up, Matthew Larkin? Says, you can't be subject to the jurisdiction thereof if you're evading the jurisdiction thereof. It's not that complicated, Matthew. But for some reason, for the ACLU and the blue states, they can't figure it out. From Matthew Larkin. Thank you for that one. It's absolutely true. Useful Idiot is here. Says, is me formerly F. Joe Biden? It's me. Okay, what's up? So it's formerly F. Joe Biden is here. Now Useful Idiot. Well, I don't think you're an idiot. I think you're a smart person. Says, when do you think we'll see those unclassified documents published so we actually all know who killed JFK? Mama Ro tells us it's in the order. 15 days for JFK, 45 for RFK and MLK Jr. Wow, there you go. So thank you for that, Mama Ro, for filling in the gaps on that. And that's an interesting thing. So 15 days. And I wonder how many people are at the shredder bins file right now, just shredding documents. Yeah, so he just signed that. So I haven't read the order yet, but that'll be fun. We can take a look at that tomorrow. Uncivil Law is in the house. What's up, Uncivil? So my friend Kurt, he live streams right next door to us on YouTube and elsewhere. He says, Birthright Citizenship issue is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm not sure how, if this is based on the Constitution, how it wouldn't have a retroactive effect. Yeah, I mean, I don't see it having I don't think the Supreme Court would ever do that. Like, if you already have your citizenship and a social security number, like, they're not going to strip those. I don't think. And I'm not sure you would want that to happen anyways. Like, I don't think we want you might want that practically to happen, but as a matter of precedent, as a matter of, like, once citizenship is granted, it should be a very hard thing to remove from somebody, right? Like, and you might disagree that it was granted to too many people, too much, but how do you Like the barrier to removing someone's citizenship from them should be high because we don't want any government hacks to take it away from us. And they might do that. Oh, like you didn't take the jab, so you're not a citizen anymore. Something like that, right? Like that's the kind of line that you want. But Trump didn't even attempt to do that. So his order is not even attempting that as far as we've read. So it applies to new babies moving forward. So we don't even have to debate that. But it is an interesting question. I think if you said retroactively we're going to go strip people's citizenship away, it would be a non-starter for the Supreme Court, and I think it would be more volatile politically. But moving forward, it's ended. Glocky, good to see you on Civil. Glocky says, this is from 2015. No way the USA Today would publish this today. Chinese flock to the USA to give birth to U.S. citizens. Oh, yeah, it's huge. It's called birth tourism. There it is right there. At least 500 companies offer birth tourism services in China. They fly people into the country, drop a baby, and fly them out. They get dual citizenship because of our stupid interpretation of the 14th Amendment. Never supposed to be like that. Are illegals subject to the draft? I don't think so. I mean, they're illegal. They're not in the country lawfully. So they're not going to be registering with the Selective Service. So I would say they're not subject to the draft because they're not documented. Will, what's up? Will Crump, how can the Trump administration respond to this suit when the Dems and rhinos are dragging their feet to confirm Pam Bondi as AG? Yeah, acting AG. So Pam Bondi will be confirmed, but Emil Bove is the acting right now, and they'll respond aggressively. And it's going to be a lot of fun, man. This is a really interesting constitutional issue that can shape the whole fabric of the country, which is something we want to protect. Glocky says, wait a friggin' minute. Anyone who commits crimes against America or its citizens is subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And that's one of the primary jobs of the FBI is to make arrests of foreigners overseas for breaking American laws. So does that mean if you bring a female criminal here to stand trial from a foreign country and she has a baby, then that child is an American citizen and so she can't be deported after she serves her time? So there's a lot intertwined in that, Glocky, but the rule under Trump's executive order would be, like if that female criminal is a lawful resident and she has a baby, that lawful resident that baby would be a citizen. So then you could say, well, we're not going to grant you, let's say she's got a green card or, permanent residency. Okay, well, now you've broken the law, you've committed a crime. So during your application for citizenship, that's going to be considered and probably denied. So then, it can impact their immigration status, right? All criminal charges have collateral consequences and they could impact your immigration status. In fact, there's a little phrase that our judges in Arizona are forced to read. If by pleading guilty, this could impact your immigration status. Yeah, I've been a citizen for 25 years. I know, but I have to read that. But they have to tell everybody that because it is a collateral consequence. And that would be different than if she did not have lawful status. Then it would be the same, right? She could just be deported immediately because there's no lawful basis for her to be here. And without lawful status, her kid, and if the father didn't have lawful status or was a citizen, wouldn't be a citizen and would also go back. This old guy says that is the most poorly written lawsuit I believe we've ever read. And that's saying a lot. I know we've read Fanny's stuff here too. Can you believe that, this old guy? It felt like they were just racing to file something on the very first day that they could. But they hadn't thought about it a lot. Stripping citizenship. It's not stripping citizenship. It's not even in effect for 30 days. Weirdos. What's up? Super Trike Do It Yourself. What's up, Super Trike? 18 months as a member, that's 2 full babies. Says, what about our citizens that are being aborted? Yeah, they're not going to be citizens because they're being aborted. Unfortunately. Thank you, Super Trike, for being a member for 18 months. Useful Idiot says, so that means if I rob a bank and go to jail, do I get to keep the money? If you're only stealing the money because you're looking for a better opportunity and you need it, and it's offensive to punish you for breaking into the bank, right? That's like their logic. Randy's retired. Congrats, Randy. That's awesome. Hope you're enjoying it. Super Trike says, what about our citizens being aborted? The AGs are. For that one. The AGs are. Thank you, Super Trike. Knox Bierman, what's up? Says, American Samoa is awesome. I told you, all that islanders are extremely patriotic. The CNMI residents are citizens, as are peeps in Guam. They love being Americans, even if not citizens, and the CNMI enlist at twice the rates of mainland U.S. You're right, so it's very America, and they don't even get birthright citizenship. And I think, I mean, I don't know, I've never been there or know anything outside of what I've read. But I also think that that's actually a local issue, right? Like some of them don't want the citizenship. They're like, we actually don't want that because it might, impede Samoan culture and other things. So it's like a local issue on that. But my point is, they're practically American, okay? And they don't even get birthright citizenship. So why are we giving it to illegals who are clearly not American and not even a territory? They're just coming in. Scroats Magoats, what's up? Says, can American citizens countersue these leftists for putting our kids in danger? Unfortunately, no. I mean, no. I mean, the grievance, the people who are bringing these lawsuits are the attorney generals from Arizona and all these various states. So you could respond to the lawsuit or move to intervene or file an amicus brief or get involved in the lawsuit. But if you sued them, they would say that this is a political grievance and your standing would probably not be found to be valid. And they would say the right remedy is not a lawsuit. It's just to vote them out of office. Knox is here. Says CNMI is the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. They wouldn't need U.S. lawyers like me if they didn't use our legal system. Yeah, Knox, I know you brought this up before too, right? And I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing your insight on how it all works down there. Ramy Canapace in the house. What's up, Ramy? Thank you for becoming a supporter. We'll see you on those members-only streams. Grab the one from this morning. Hassan Piker is an anchor baby. Is that right? I didn't know that. He streams on Twitch, right? And he talks politics, and you'll have to vet those claims. I don't know anything about that. But thank you, Philip Calkins, for being a member for 3 months. Allegan News says Doka has legal status. Her kid would be a citizen. If DACA had legal status, but I think DACA has some conditions for that, right? But yeah, I mean, I think that would be the argument. There's different buckets of people. Do you have temporary status or lawful permanent status? This is more permanent basis. Trump disambiguates between the two. And that's in alignment with Wong Kim Ark. His parents were permanent residents. Randy's Retired says their best argument is that Congress, not the president, has the authority to legislate this under Section 5 of the 14th Amendment. Kind of. I mean, but it's already been legislated, I think is the point. Subject to the jurisdiction is already well defined. It doesn't mean anybody anywhere at any time can just drop a baby off and you're a citizen. And Wong Kim Ark, it never went that far to say that that is true. So it's already been legislated. The courts have already ruled on a lot of this. And Trump is issuing and enforcing the law in alignment with Wong Kim Ark. He's not in violation of that at all. The order we read through is in alignment. What's up, Sharpie guy? Absolutely from my head to my heartbeat, Rob. These people are hoping to have my last few tax dollars to land in their bank. No, sir. One of my Democrat friends scolded me that he supports the government. When I asked him if he was paying taxes on time, he said, well, no. That was back in 2008 when everyone, including a bookie I knew, had filed extensions. Imagine how I felt after filing and paying up timely. That's when I became a conservative, times 10. Yeah, that has taxes have a tendency to do that. Yeah, they make you pretty conservative. You go, wait. How much money went to who for what now? Crash. Washington seems to me a reasoned and logical thinker. We have forum shopping going on, Rob, not unlike Kaplan and Mercant. Washington, yeah, Washington State. If I were a judge at the federal circuit level, not to mention the Supreme Court, I would be PO'd. But we are dealing with the Ninth Circuit. When it gets there, SCOTUS, here we come. Yeah, and Somebody else, I forget who it was talking about the timing of this. Oh, maybe it was Jonathan Turley, but said that the timing might put this at SCOTUS right around the midterms, right? By the time it matures up there. Glocky says, Trump is going to be PO'd, super PO'd. Whoa, a hiker was reportedly shot by a cartel terrorist. Wow. We might be on the brink of war. That's from Citizen Free Press, great website. Spuds says, promoting diversity worldwide. Who needs Pinochet's helicopter tours when we're just dropping them out of airplanes in Afghanistan? Thank you, Spuds. Mrs. T. Rush says, I emailed you regarding Eric's house. I haven't heard back. Oh, okay. Well, I'm a little bit backed up on my emails. We just got back into town on Tuesday, and so I'm getting caught up on those. We were traveling for the inauguration watch party and those other things. So I will respond to you, Mrs. T. Rush, or you can just go to ericshouse.org and we'll get you situated one way or the other. So I will send you an email back. I'll do that tonight. Thank you for that. Tara Rayner says Trump has pardoned pro-life prisoners. Amazing. We saw that. We played that clip at the beginning of this. Thank you, Tara, for that one. Nice T, thank you, Nice T, says, I worked postpartum in Corpus Christi, took care of hundreds of Mexican citizens that crossed the border only to have a baby with no intention of staying in the U.S. They'd apply for and then return to Mexico with full U.S. benefits. It's the definition of an anchor baby, right? And you get immediate citizenship, and our stupid leaders have just been allowing it to happen. The Chinese have companies that fly people over to do it. It's insane. RN Sunshine is saying, hit that like button if you have thumbs that work. Thank you for that, RN Sunshine. Voice of the People says, remember how many political opponents were ended in the last Mexican election? How did she win? Interesting. Yeah, Tatership says, probably the CIA. Useful Idiot says, this war with the drug cartels has been going on for decades, since Pablo Escobar in the 70s and 80s. Let's end it already. Good idea, Useful. Knox says, like yourself, Rob, I lived in Arizona for most of my adult life. This immigration is not the immigration of the 1980s. This is straight up for-profit human and drug trafficking. And kids. These are not nice Mexican ladies who watch our kids and nice men who garden, okay? It's sex, fentanyl, human organs involuntarily taken, and hundreds of thousands of children being shipped across the border for God knows what. We know what. It's sick, Knox, and we're glad that Trump is finally putting an end to it after my whole life of this crap going on. Former says, Rob, tell me what you think of this idea. Tattoo a large D on the forehead of deported people. Ugh. And if they return after being deported, all right, Former, thank you. Hey, it's the Munkets is here. 20 membos coming in the house, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. We got Joe Drum is here, Roger Hunter, we've got Lynn Roberts, Gina Henry, Michael Lee, Kimmy Y Censored, Hippie Hank, Semper Fi in the house, Sequoia Brown, gifted a membo, Roxanne Graziano, Shane Souza, what's up, Bay Shaman in the house. We got more, another user, Island Square, Gerald Rogers, Be Cool, T. Renee S., Kenneth Widener, Sean Murray, Paul A., and Lisa Daniel, gifted membos courtesy of Tony Hay Muckets. Thank you, Tony Hay, for bringing in new membos. Useful Idiot is here, says they need to subpoena Schumer and throw his booty right out of Congress. The Democrats love Chuck Schumer. They like him like they love Pelosi. They're weird. They like weird people. Becky Beagle says a pardon without a conviction means you're open for a new conviction. I think the pardon actually would immunize you from any conviction related to the set of facts and circumstances by the feds, at least. Arguably, you could have it, you could charge somebody for the state at the state level. But if they're rejecting the pardons, then I would say it's a rejection. Now, I don't think that they have to actually accept it in order for it to count. But if they openly and voluntarily reject it, then I think that the pardon does not count. So if they're, which is why they're all hemming and hawing about this, which is why they're like, well, I didn't accept it. Okay, reject it right now. Reject it right now on the record. None of them will ever do it because they want to live in that little gray area. Hey, Cola Buds. What's up, Cola Buds? Says, any mention of the no tax on tips yet? Or OT or SS yet? Great show, Rob. Thanks a bunch. Thank you, Cola Buds. Thanks for saying that, man. Thanks for the dono. Thanks for supporting us. I haven't seen any executive orders on the tax on tips thing, but I may have missed it. There's like 100 or 200 of them, so I'm not sure that I've seen it yet. If somebody else has seen it, of course, let me know. But thank you, Cola Buds. We'll be on the lookout for that one. Secret Service, I don't think any changes yet. Thank you for that, Cola Buds. We got Andy Hansis in the house. Says, will the JFK docs just be black redacted pages? I know, right? Here you go. Here's all the information. It's like a phone book of black. Great. Better not be, because we want to read it. Hey, Spuds is here. Anybody want to take like over-unders on what the final conclusion is? Or, what do the betting markets say? Was it CIA? Was it the mob? Was it JFK? Was it the Russians, the Soviets? What was it? Spuds, in order to prevent anchor babies, no. John says, Washington State falls within the jurisdiction of the United States Court of Appeals. Justice Elena Kagan is the circuit justice for the Ninth Circuit. Thank you, John, for those details. Useful Idiot says, wonder what's going to happen with all these illegals that were granted amnesty. Trump hasn't said anything about that, from Useful Idiot. We've got Rub Some Dirt on It. Rob sneaks in disambiguates today. Had to do it. Thank you for that, Rub Some Dirt on It. We'll try to get it in every day. Philip Coggin says, Hassan was born here while his parents were visiting and returned to Turkey after his birth. Didn't return until he started college. Thank you, Philip. We got Biden says, how do you think the Trump administration will defend giving citizenship to children of green card holders, legal but non-citizens, while excluding people on work or tourist visas who are legally present here as well? Well, I would say it's a temporal delineation. So just like Wong Kim Ark, the parents there were permanent. They got permanent residency according to San Francisco. So if it's fleeting, right, like if you're just here temporarily, I would say that's not anything the Supreme Court has decided on based on Wong Kim Ark. And so it's valid. It's a temporal, it's non-permanent. So you're like subject to the jurisdiction, but kind of. And you being subject to the jurisdiction, you've agreed is temporary. So your kid doesn't get permanent citizenship based on your agreed upon. You've subjected yourself to the jurisdiction of the United States temporarily because you have a sovereign that is your real state. So it's temporary. So you don't get permanent citizenship for that. Useful Idiot says, I think all these pardons should be challenged because they're not necessarily pardons because no crimes were stated that are just been given immunity. From Useful Idiot. And Kitchen Mortician says, I'm all for free speech. But, gentlemen, really? I'm all for free speech, but gentlemen, really? From Kitchen Mortician in the house. So some great comments today, my friends. Thank you for sending those in and supporting our work and for contributing to the conversation. We're grateful and appreciative of that. We've got B. Torn, who is sharing that all of these Democrats are Nazis over there. This is a great chart. You can see some of these things. This is the Nazi chart, the Nazi scale. If your hand is down low, it's at rest. It could be pet dog level. It could be pet children. It could be to call a taxi. But if you are like at 45 degrees or more, you're a Nazi, like clearly. If you go all the way to the top, it's just like calling a waiter. It's not a big deal. But if it's 45 degrees, you're basically Adolf Hitler. And so as you can see, all these Democrats are basically Adolf. Thank you for that, B-Torn. Excellent post there. We got this one from Bill of Rights saying, and everything will be revealed. Brad Becker saying it's always going to SCOTUS. Christine says the Chinese mothers are having babies and returning to China. It's called birth tourism, and it's everywhere. Hey, what's up, Essential Bites? Marianne Gonzalez saying there's nothing wrong with calling it the Gulf of America, just like South America. You know, it's perfect. Essential Bites says there's another find and another post over from Phil Holloway. What's up, Phil Holloway? Sharing this about some sort of contraception thing. Contraception begins at what the heck is that? All right, so those are some comments over on X, and we're grateful for everybody who follows us on X and was sending those items over. Cliff Norman says, Secretary William Simon held a weekly Golden Fleece Award for the government's most wasteful program, and Doge is doing this daily. So they're now doing a daily report of the government's most wasteful programs. Ugh, gonna be sick. And this one from Dove7. I was talking about the tax on tips. I get ahead of myself from Dove7. Thank you, Dove, for sending that one in. And so, my friends, all right, that is where we're going to leave it on the day. We are going to, of course, come back tomorrow to get into it again. I want to thank our amazing mods and our meme smiths who mod the fort down for us and keep things oh so nice and beautiful and orderly. Our friends K-Bean, Donut, Carrie B, Playin' Hooky, Janak, and Dog Digger modding the fort down for us. Grateful for that. But now we're heading over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We would love to see you. Come on over there and join us. But if we don't see you over there, well, we're coming back tomorrow. And we're going to get into it again. And in order to do it appropriately, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.